Hello there boys and girls, welcome to Scottish Geeks. It's that time again, time for a Doctor Who review. This time was Season 9 Episode 4, Before the Flood. Now, I've actually written some cliff notes this time, so I'm not so erratic. The first thing we noticed was at the very beginning of the episode, the Doctor tried to explain what a certain kind of paradox was by saying if he went to see Beethoven didn't exist, but he had Beethoven's sheet music, and he then played Beethoven and invented the music, who then was the one who started the music. And then he gets out his guitar and plays some Beethoven. However, next thing comes up is the titles. Now, there wasn't a recap like there was last week. This was just like an explanation of a paradox for some bizarre reason. I don't know if I like that or not. But anyway, the new theme tune has arrived, and it appears to be Peter Capaldi playing the electric guitar doing the Doctor Who theme tune. And I actually like it. I actually think it's a pretty cool rendition of the theme tune. Next thing we see is when the Doctor arrives, he meets up with Mole Guy, who is apparently a funeral director. So the ship is actually a funeral ship. So that's where all this basically starts, or meant to be a funeral ship anyway. And I'll be honest with you, the back of the Mole Guy's head looked like a bit of a knob, so the guy was a bit of a knob and he looked like a bit of a knob, so knob-like in all aspects of his personality. So then we get back to the normal ship, the future, present, whatever you want to call it, and Clara has to phone the Doctor and she starts talking about him. Ghost him. Doctor gets a little bit melancholy over it, but gets over it pretty damn quickly. And apparently appears he is still very unhappy with his regeneration. Now, the Ghost Doctor is not saying the same things as the rest of the ghosts. He's saying something completely different. And apparently he is able to change his message. Now, we'll get onto that later on, because I have watched the whole episode and know what happens in it, but we'll get on to that. Now, for some reason, when we go back to the past and all that, Scotland looks a hell of a lot like Russia. Yeah, it does. And then of course we've got the Scottish lassie who's from Unit, who was, you know, Doctor fan, started mentioning Amy, Rose, things like that. Says the most stupid thing she could ever do. Let's split up. Has she never been trained by Unit? You don't split up when you're with the Doctor, you stay with the Doctor. So stupid as stupid does, and she gets killed by the Fisher King, who, by the way, the roar was not what I was expecting. Because I listened to Slipknot, I know what Corey Taylor's roar is like, but it was a pretty damn good roar. I got the feeling that today's episode was sponsored by Apple. There was a hell of a lot of references to the iPhone, things like that. Even the Doctor's console, whenever Clara turned her phone, he would turn his screen this way, that way, and every way. But anyway, the next part again is with the phone. Why the hell did Clara leave the phone in that little alcove outside of the Faraday cage? What was the point of it? Seriously, honestly, God, there was no explanation behind it. The phone was in an alcove outside of the Faraday cage, and they shut the door. Why did she not keep the phone with her? Oh God. So anyway, Ghost Scottish lady managed to get the phone off of her and walk away with it. So then we go back to the past again. The Doctor wants to go and save Clara because there's a big message. You got to watch the episode. I can't go into everything, but I can go into a few spoilers, but not everything. So the TARDIS refuses to move to save Clara, but then it takes them back to half an hour into the past, so the Doctor says anyway. So there are two Doctors, and two of the guys standing there as well. I'm sorry I can't remember the characters' names offhand. I should have written them down, but I didn't. But there is a double Doctor moment, and I get the feeling that if they had met, the Doctors, and there would have been a Reaper moment. Now, if those of you who've been watching New Who, as they call it, with Christopher Eccleston and all that, you know what happens if a Doctor meets a Doctor and it's not preordained, and they are the same people. The Reapers come and they erase the time. They stitch up, they suture the wounds of time, and they eat away all the debris and whatnot. But anyway, so I don't know if that would have worked now that Time Lords technically are back, because apparently Time Lords can do something about that. So moving on, the Fisher King. We meet the Fisher King. He's a big hulking bit of a guy, humongous big bastard with a vagina for a face. Very well spoken for a monster, I'll be honest with you. Very, very calm. Other than the scream, that's it. He's just a very calm creature, but he is very dominant. He wants to take over the world. That's what the ghosts are for. He creates the ghosts in order to boost the signal to bring down an armada to conquer planets. But But the Doctor's not for any of that. But of course the Fisher King calls out the Doctor on his heritage, on him being a Time Lord, and says even though he's a renegade Time Lord and a rogue Time Lord, he still follows the rules of time, which pisses the Doctor off. So the Doctor decides, if I'm going to die anyway, I might as well follow the rules of time. Not now anymore, I ain't following no rules. No. So we go back and Clara decides that, yeah, we're going to go and we're going to hunt for this phone and the guy who went for it. You're the Deaf Lady's interpreter. And she goes missing one way and Clara goes, hello, hello. Yeah, Deaf Lady's going to hear you, especially when you're whispering. So the Doctor gets really, really angry. We go back to the past. The Doctor gets very, very angry, shows his fury and decides he's going to take out the Fisher King completely, and he is the one that causes the flood. He basically drowns the Fisher King, puts himself into the stasis chamber, and then we move back up to the future and it turns out that Deaf Lady is Daredevil. She closes her eyes a second, puts her hand on the floor and can suddenly detect everything that's going around her. Well, anyway, so the Doctor gets up and apparently the Doctor ghost is not a real ghost, it's a holographic projection brought about by the Sonic sunglasses. I still don't like the Sonic sunglasses, so they bring the ghost back into the Faraday chamber, everything's fine, everyone gets their memories of that word and phrase erased, there will be no more ghosts. Done. So I fucking knew the Doctor was in the capsule. Now the ghosts, afterwards, the Doctor says they're going to go to Unit to be put up into the atmosphere where they could be dispersed. Now what I want to know, guys, this is my question to you for this episode, is do you think Unit will disperse them or will they keep them for study? I reckon they'll keep them for study. I think that's what's going to happen. Now the final part of the episode I did not enjoy because it's not a normal Doctor Who moment. The Doctor broke the fourth wall and addressed the audience at the end of the episode. He addressed them at the beginning of the episode and he addresses at the end of the episode. I didn't like that part of it. Kind of like when you go to a play, you like to be caught up in the moment, when you go to the theatre and things like that. Deadpool, fair enough, Deadpool does, but Doctor's not Deadpool. Didn't like that part. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. This has been a completely spoiler-filled review of tonight's episode of Doctor Who. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and leave me comments below. Let me know what you thought of the episode, and I'll catch you next time. But until then, bye-bye.